I have to ask, like, how familiar are you with my man, Larry the Cucumber? Did you grow up in a religious family? Like, I feel like there's these little hints everywhere, but I'm not too sure if I'm reading into that too much.
Barbara Manatee
You are the
was
one for
my
me.
favorite sip from up above.
The one I love.
You are the one I love.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm Brad. Where are you calling from?
Brazil.
I technically live in Texas currently.
Calling from Arizona.
And wherever you are, welcome to Blond Radio. Hi, I'm Brad. I live on the west coast of Canada. It's raining today for the first time in weeks, and I couldn't be more excited about it. And welcome to Blond Radio, where every week I book calls with strangers from around the world. Today we'll talk to Gabriel, a creative living abroad, Hannah, who has an interesting perspective on the value of aesthetics, and Nathan Chiu, the creator behind Wayfie, who supplied the intro track for Blond Radio. But first, this week at Blond Radio on Instagram, I gave you guys a prompt. What's the biggest thing you've learned so far in 2020? Here's what you had to say.
Hey, I'm Dylan. I'm calling from Syracuse, New York. For me, the biggest thing I've learned so far in 2020 is to think a lot more about how others are doing and how they're feeling.
Hey Brad, this is Lakesh and I'm calling from Bellevue, Washington. One thing I've learned for 2020 is that you're most productive when you're just lazing around. Like just sleeping on the couch with your thoughts lazy is when I've come up with my best ideas.
Hi Brad, it's Anastasia calling from Edmonton, Alberta. I think the biggest thing I've learned in 2020 is that I like to be busy. I need to always be doing something. I've literally never spent this much time at home and I'm always needing to do something. So I'm trying to do as much as I can, but oh my gosh, it's so hard.
Hello. My name is Thomas, calling from Waco, Texas, and the thing that 2020 has taught me is that the world doesn't fucking care. Even if the world doesn't fucking care, you make the most of it with what you've been given.
Hi, I'm Ollie, calling from England, and for me, 2020 has taught me to be more forgiving and try and be less grumpy.
Hey Brad, this is Rena, calling from Cincinnati, Ohio in the United States. The biggest thing I learned in 2020 was probably that it's okay to take care of myself, especially with COVID and all the quarantine stuff. I was very isolated in my own room doing schoolwork. Being by myself and not being with friends was a really, really hard thing to do, but I was able to take care of myself by doing a lot of activities and I started new hobbies. So I think that's the big thing I learned in 2020. Thanks.
Thanks to everyone for submitting a response, and we'll hear more answers throughout today's show. Hi, I'm Brad. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Very cool.
Finally.
Yeah, and you're Gabriel, yes?
Yes.
Awesome. How's your day going?
Pretty good so far, I guess. I didn't do anything useful, but Netflix and chill.
Definitely know the vibe. What time is it there?
Currently 5:34 p.m.
Oh, okay. So wait, sorry, where are you calling from?
Brazil.
Oh, okay, because like you're so international, it's a little hard to pin you down.
Okay, so yeah, technically I am from Brazil, but I'm living in South Korea for the past 2 years. So
Damn.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I guess we could start there, and if you could sort of just like give a brief pitch of like you and like who you are and what you do for people that may not be familiar with you.
Okay, so my name's Gabriel. I'm 20 years old and I've been living in South Korea for the past 2 years. At first I went there as a student and then now I'm working as a model / entertainer. So
Damn,
yeah.
hell yeah. That's awesome. So what was the initial, like, why did you move there?
I always wanted to like study languages, so I guess that was a first. And because I was also like really into gaming and like, you know, Korean culture and everything, I decided to go there and give it a try. You know, it was my first Asian language that I started learning, and then I fell in love with the country and I'm there since then.
That's amazing. Going through your feeds and stuff and through your YouTube, it feels like creativity has always been this part of your life. You got the photos, you seem very fashion forward. Where did that all start for you?
It was kind of a snowball. I didn't plan to do any of it.
Right.
Like I started with the YouTube when I was very young, like joking with my friends and stuff, doing gaming videos.
Yeah.
Since then, I was like really interested in YouTube. And because I didn't know what to study, you know, as a bachelor's degree or something, I thought I would, you know, do it for fun, see if it goes anywhere. when I went to Korea, I was like, there was like a huge increase in people that were interested in Korean culture and K-pop, and it was that big boom. And then I thought, okay, I'm gonna start talking about Korea. I can see if this is something I could do, for a living maybe. And then I met some friends that were famous kind of in the community, and we started helping each other. My community started growing a bit. Then I got like opportunities to be part of a network and try to do a lot of different stuff. So yeah, I don't know. I've always been interested in photography and filmmaking and stuff. So I hope my YouTube not only focus about Korean culture, but also like focus in my life.
I'd agree. Like it's very much because as you're speaking to I feel like you're giving a perspective into Korean culture for people that, aren't necessarily there. Yeah, but then also it's very much your perspective. It's not just some guy. There's definitely a person and a personality that people can engage with.
Yeah, which I think it's very important if you're like content creator or a digital influencer. I don't know how you want to call it, but I think it's something that lacks nowadays is people with like a personality. I'm trying to create mine, or like at least develop who I am into my life and into the channel. So yeah.
And where do you, I know it feels so hard to plan things in 2020, but do you see yourself moving this forward in any particular direction? Like where do you see yourself like 5 years from now?
Oh my God, 5 years from now? I don't know where I see myself in 1 year from now.
Yeah.
So my short-term plans are like trying to have a career as a model or like in the fashion industry there, and also trying to focus more on creating stuff and learning more about photography and filmmaking, which is something I really love doing. But 5 years from now, I don't think I see myself in Korea. I'd probably be looking for other things to study, doing a bachelor's degree somewhere and traveling a lot, and hopefully be a little bit more known in the YouTube community.
Right. Just sort of have a bit more options available to you. That'd be super cool. And from your videos and stuff, you seem like someone who really enjoys life, like even the small things. Like I just watched your Costco shopping trip because like it's such a simple, like it's just like grocery shopping.
Yeah,
but it's fun.
I thought it was something useful for people who want to know how life is in a country like South Korea.
Like how do you stay in tune with the world around you to like just like appreciate sort of smaller things like that?
When I look at what I consume, like the content I consume, it's always like people not focusing on their day-to-day life, but focusing on the like special stuff that happens. Or like I think everyone's too focused on their life and sometimes forgetting a little bit about the main things, and appreciating everything around you, not only people but like anything that makes you feel excited or happy. I think that's important, and that's something I've been trying to do because I struggled with a lot in the past. So yeah, that's very important.
Yeah, I like that because I mean, like, if you're looking at really big YouTubers like say Mr. Beast, like the Paul brothers, like their videos are always so over the top, so crazy. Like check out this 1,000-gallon thing, and then it's very stintalizing. It's arguably that's cool, but like, what do you take from that?
Yeah, true. It's kind of like there's two sides of entertainment. There's the entertainment that you watch just for, laughing and having fun. And there's the one that you're kind of like, okay, this is actually giving me something. It's giving me ideas, or it's making me more creative, or, it's changing my life in any way. And I think I'm more into that line of content.
For sure.
I really want to make a difference, at least for one person.
That's so special, man. I really like that. Your bio that you have on your Instagram, it says trying to find where I belong. Like how true does that ring? Do you feel like you found your place in the world?
Definitely not. I think it's going to be a long path until I find where I belong. Well, what I mean by that is that, I was born in Brazil, but I've traveled to different countries, something I love doing and I want to keep doing. I want to, know more people and learn about different cultures and stuff. So I always tell everyone that the place I belong is like the whole world, because I don't have a country or like somewhere to call home. I call it like wherever I am, surrounded by good people and with things that make me happy and appreciate the place I am, it's gonna be my home. So
Totally. Oh,
yeah, that's what I mean by that.
that makes sense. And even though, like, as you're speaking to, maybe you don't have that base of geographically a home, do you feel that you're at a place in your life where, like, your personal identity, like, do you feel like you know yourself and you're confident in yourself and who you are?
I feel like I actually just started to kind of work on that.
Oh, really?
Because in the past, I'm not confident in my own skin, like, at all.
Okay.
So I would look for people to reassure me, I guess, or my friends would reassure me and talk nice things about myself. And then after, like, some hard times, I actually started to kind of look inside myself to see who I actually am, because I have no idea. And I know things I like, I know where I want to get or things I want to achieve, but I don't really know how or what actually that would bring me. I don't know if that's the real thing that would make me happy. So I'm currently trying a lot of different stuff to actually get to know myself.
That's so cool. That's definitely the first step, is to recognize that, like, hey, there's some work to be done, which is kind of fun.
Yeah, a lot of work to be done.
Very cool. Thank you again, Gabriel, for taking time out of your day to speak to me. But
no problem.
In closing, I was wondering, what advice could you give to someone who's still trying to figure out either their place in the world or their place in themselves? What has been most helpful for you?
Well, it might sound a bit cliche, but like breathing.
Yeah.
Like expiring all the stress. And I'd say, like, search for the small things that make you feel happy. Like, some people like drawing, some people like to listen to music or go to coffee shops and appreciate stuff. I'd say the first step, especially in our society nowadays, that everyone's like rushing and, anxiety, depression, it's like big thing. I'd say that trying to find the small things that make you feel happy is the most important thing. It will make you calmer and it will give you like a starting point to know yourself and what you like doing and your hobbies and personality traits even.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Awesome. Thank you again. That's beautiful advice.
Oh, thank you.
No worries. I can't wait to see where you go, because it sounds like you have a lot of passion, and you definitely, even though maybe you don't have it super figured out yet, like, I know whatever your end goal is, it's going to be something that you're going to be really proud of. So that's super exciting.
I hope so. Confidence is the first step, I guess.
Yeah. Well, awesome. I wish you a lovely rest of the day, and we'll definitely be in touch.
Okay, thank you.
Ciao.
Bye-bye.
Hey Brad, I'm Levi. I'm calling from Arizona, and the biggest thing I learned was how to love yourself. I've been struggling with that, but I found a group of friends that helped me out.
Hey, my name's Adrian. I'm from the UK. Probably the one thing that I've learned over 2020 is the real importance of self-care, not letting myself get distracted from my goals or the presence of deadlines. I think we've all changed over the quarantine. It's going to be really interesting to see what this does to the world after the dust has settled and it's all over.
Hello, my name is Layla, and I'm calling from Texas. One thing that I learned in 2020 so far is to never take things for granted and to live in the moment, because one day everything can be taken away from you in such a short notice. So just slow down and take time to really involve yourself in the world.
Hi, my name is Inez. I come from France, and I think the biggest thing I've learned in 2020 is to be happy with what I'm doing every day, even though it isn't much. Also to enjoy the little things in life and to be happy for myself and not for others. Thank you. Bye.
Hi, I'm Brad. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. I'm Hannah, but I'm pretty sure you already knew that.
Very good, of course. And where are you calling from?
Currently, I'm in Louisiana.
Okay. Yeah. Is that like where you're from? Like you grew up there?
So I grew up in Louisiana as a kid, but we moved to Texas and we moved around a lot. I technically live in Texas currently, just at the moment for the summer, I decided to live in Louisiana.
Oh, nice.
Visit the hometown.
Of course. Switch it up. Definitely maybe the year for it. Just get some space from big cities and stuff.
Oh, yeah. The big city was not it.
It was not the move, for sure.
No.
Sweet. Awesome. Yeah, to start, if you could sort of like give like the pitch on like who you are and what you do for like people that aren't super familiar with you?
Yeah. My name's Hannah. I'm not necessarily special by any means. I don't think I am, at least. Hey. I guess I'll just like brief history of Hannah. When I was like younger and stuff, I had my parents go through like a divorce. They used to fight a lot. During that time, like basically growing up, I used to be honestly pretty ugly.
Damn.
For a long time no, I'm not even kidding. Like I had the baggy jeans, the baggy t-shirt, the braces, the glasses, the hair in a high ponytail, super ratty all the time. I don't even know if I owned a brush. It was rough. But, all my life, like I grew up for the majority of my life not being cute. I didn't look cute and I didn't have a cute life either. I got bullied a lot. My parents, after their divorce, still fought a lot, and my mom was never home because she was always working. There's even a time in my life. Now, this is going to sound insane to you, but to me, this is my normal.
Okay.
Which might be sad, but I've come to like terms with it. I've gone through all the hard work of like working through emotions and stuff. When I was younger, there was like a time when my dad low-key kidnapped me and my sister and took us to another state without telling anyone. And during that short portion of time, there was a long period of abuse that went on in the house. Ever since that time, like I realized how ugly my life was, and I started to really enjoy pretty things. And I promise this is getting to a point, but I really enjoyed pretty things. I felt like anything that looked good or looked pretty just had more meaning to it than on the outside, because if my life wasn't pretty, at least I could make it look pretty on the outside, was like what I grew up thinking. And eventually, I remember in like high school, I started like getting really involved in fashion and enjoying fashion and, developing a sense of humor somewhat. I mean, I don't know about that one actually, but and then I remember coming back to school one year, and my teachers legitimately thought I was a different person because I had taken off my braces, I put in contacts, I basically did like that whole 2000s movie glow up. Is that a new girl type shit? I had this glow up, and during this glow up, honestly, post glow up, I realized, how I said I was bullied a lot before?
Yeah.
Well, a lot of those people were my friends, or at least I thought they were my friends. I don't know. Majority of my life, I was just surrounded by fake people because I tried so hard to be something I wasn't, and people pleased that I got fucked over in the end. It was around that time that like I was just like, I had enough. I decided, and that was like the summer that I was like, fuck everyone else. I'm gonna focus on myself. And I did the whole glow up thing. I came back and everyone treated me completely different.
Damn.
Because of my looks. That was all it took, was to look pretty. People would be more willing to like share their notes with me, to like ask me to go hang out. But it was just a different treatment. It kind of hurt to see that like the world really does value aesthetics and looks over so many other things. For a while, like I thought about things very shallow because I thought that was how I needed to think about things. That, I mean, my parents divorced because my dad cheated. Right. And in my eyes, my mom was like the most beautiful person ever. But I kept hearing like other people on my dad's side of the family who'd bash my mom and say the other girl was prettier and things like that. And I was just, in my head, it was like, the prettier you are, the more power you have over people and the less bad things can happen to you, is kind of what ended up happening. And so at that point in my life, that was my mindset, was that if I was pretty and I associated myself with pretty things and pretty people, then my life would be better, which ultimately led to a huge downfall later that year. It didn't even take more than a year to realize how wrong I was. Right. But I came to the conclusion after being hurt so many times and realizing that I can still get hurt regardless. of how good I look or anything along those lines, or how good other people look, that I came to the conclusion that, you know, looks do give you almost like a one-up in society over people, but that's not all there is. But at the same time, I did for a minute, I really thought that, like, well, maybe I should just stop caring completely. But I remembered how pretty things got me through hard times, because, you know, they were fun to look at, and they made me think even like ugly situations can have, you know, pretty parts to them and stuff.
Right.
So I decided, whole nother story, but after realizing business and marketing for college and like STEM and stuff was not for me at all. I was going to go to art school, but then I realized, money. That is the factor that I don't have. So let's not do that. I was kind of like at a loss at this point, and I just sat there, and I remember reflecting on everything I just told you.
Right.
And realizing how big a part fashion and, you know, just pretty things, you know, aesthetics, all of that got me through my hardest times, because even whenever I was like crying on my bed, I could at least like watch some aesthetic video or like take pictures that I thought were pretty, or make myself look pretty and feel good. You know, it really did help me. It only helped me because it was for myself and not for other people. It was whenever I did that for other people's sake that it hurt me, which I think a lot of people tend to think that. I lost my train of thought. That's great.
I think I see what you're saying. Yeah, especially like, and it's built up that, you know, you should look good for other people. But what you're speaking to is like how much looking good and seeing the value of aesthetics in your perspective through your lens, how that got you through stuff. It wasn't for anyone else. It was just for you.
Essentially, yeah, that's exactly what I was saying. You got it.
I got you.
Finally, somebody understands my horrible ADHD.
We're here for it.
They all say that, but then you get like 3 cups of coffee and nobody wants to talk to you. So it's rough. It's a rough life, but we make do.
Hey, you've made it this far.
Right?
Amen.
Preach.
Hell yeah.
So when I was at a loss, I essentially ended up thinking to myself, what do I want to do with my life? And honestly, I still don't 100% know. But I know I want to do something big, and I want to help other people doing it. So currently, I'm in the middle of starting my own line of clothes. I also thrift and flip clothes. You know, I make money off of that. Making my own line of clothes out of, you know, recycled clothes. Currently with my clothing line and stuff, I kind of like made this goal in my head that if I can one day make it in some sort of industry, like within fashion or photography or anything like that, I want to start some sort of like program or nonprofit or something later in my life where I can take kids who don't live in the best like lifestyles or households or went through similar things as me, low income families, things like that, and give them an outlet where they can, you know, learn about fashion or photography or like the things that got me through the hard times. Because I feel like there's so many people who possibly felt the same way as me or feel the same way as me, and they don't know how to tap into it, because it terrifies me to think that there's so many people who use pretty things as a way to cope, but they could, you know, end up doing the same thing as that I did, where for a very long time I started to hate myself because I started living for others. And I just got this warped sense, because anything in the world of fashion or good looks or anything like that is so toxic, because it's so difficult to differentiate between the difference of, am I doing this to make me feel good, or am I doing this to make others feel good? That was my really long-winded history that I feel like I had a bigger point to it at the beginning.
I like that. I like the journey. Yeah, I like what you're speaking to as far as like future goals and setting up opportunities for other people to explore arts. Because even though and not to project here or anything, but like you maybe had like these outside forces devaluing you like growing up. Like arts it's a value you create for yourself. It's like free. It's this free value that you can bring into your life, and it'd be so cool to bring that to so many people.
Exactly. Like, I mean, I've always been like artistic. I like to paint and doodle and draw. Like, I almost got into graphic design, but like you said, like it's such a freeing thing to like, it's a way to like express those feelings that you don't know how to, because you don't even know what they are yet until you put them out there.
Word. I like that. How
How many artists do you know that ended up making these beautiful pieces that had a perfect life?
Right. Yeah. None.
Yeah. It comes from emotions. Like being a creative is based on your emotional connection to the world around you and to yourself.
I like that. That's very grounded, very beautiful. Thank you, Hannah. Now,
I try.
in closing, I was just wondering, what advice could you give to someone who maybe is struggling to find their outlet to voice their like thoughts and feelings, especially in 2020?
I feel like my main piece of advice is don't let fear be the reason you don't do something. I've always had fear hold me back from a lot of things, from, starting a business, from finding what I love, from figuring out relationships, anything and everything you could name.
Right.
The number one piece of advice that I would give is something that I do for myself all the time, and it's what's the worst that can happen, and what if it does happen? Is it something that I can't get back up and keep going, or is it something that would keep me from going,
Right. Yeah. Like risks seem so much more scary, like in the moment, but when you put it into that long-term perspective, it's like, yeah, so what?
Yeah, like it might hurt, but I feel like if everything was always sunshine and rainbows, wouldn't be that great.
Oh, that shit would get exhausting.
Oh, I would be so annoyed all the time. Yeah, thank you so much for having me. This is really fun, actually.
Very good. I'm glad you enjoyed. Well, thank you again. It's been lovely chatting, and wish you a lovely rest of the day.
Thank you. You too.
Of course. I'll talk to you later.
All right, bye.
Ciao.
Hi, I'm Emil. I'm calling from Norway, and the biggest thing I've learned so far in 2020 is that it is okay to take a break once in a while. You don't have to be constantly working your ass off. Not that I ever have, but it is okay nevertheless to take a break. This is not something I've yet learned to apply fully in my life, but I'm working on it, and it's looking good.
Hi, my name is Laura. I'm calling from Belgium. And the biggest thing I've learned so far in 2020 is how to fully love myself and love my flaws, and that my body is worth everything because it got me to where I am and it will get me to where I want to be.
Hey, I'm Saul. I'm from Tasmania, Australia. And I think the biggest thing I've learnt this year is the importance of time. How much time we put into loving others around us, and how much time we have just spent on this earth using it to go towards our interests and hobbies to later become our careers and our future. Hopefully put an impact on our community and our social life. I love it, and I love the podcast.
Well, Nathan, this is, I was actually thinking about this the other day. I don't think I've seen you, and I think it's been 7 years.
Oh my God, I did not even realize it had been that long.
And what's so crazy is like, you only went to my school for 1 year. We weren't even in the same grade. We only had a couple classes together, but we still like, I don't know. There's always been a vibe.
Well, I think the thing is like I was new to the school that year, and I just remember my mom reading out the different courses and stuff. Oh, they have this course that like lets you basically be a part of like the praise and worship team, and you get to like go on a retreat before school even starts. And I was like, that sounds lit. Like, let's try it. We met because I was just like kind of tossed into this like class. We went to what was it called?
The
Knoll
cabin.
House?
Yeah, Knoll House.
That was like my introduction to the school, and like everyone I met in that class was like super cool. I had no clue who anyone was, and so I was just trying to be like this social chameleon.
Definitely. Yeah, that's probably the ideal way to start out at a new school, is like that smaller circle first. So I'm glad that kind of worked out for you, even though you were only there like a year.
I know, I got moved around a lot.
Well, I guess maybe off the bat, if you could like give me the history of like Nathan and Wayfie and sort of like everything of importance that got you to this point.
Well, like music, I guess, is really the biggest part of my story. My parents were both church ministers or pastors in a Christian organization called the Salvation Army. So the way the Salvation Army functions is it's like a half is social, rehabilitation centers, homeless shelters, food programs, community sort of like social interaction. And the other half is like a church. So church music was a big thing for me. I remember when I was a kid, like my parents put on these like Sunday morning services in this homeless shelter that they ran. So like I was just surrounded by people. And like as the service went on towards like when my mom would finish preaching. And that's also another big thing. Like a lot of Christian organizations don't have women pastors. So that was like a big difference between the Salvation Army and like other churches I'd been to. And so I used to just like be surrounded by like these homeless folks and they're just like waiting for the lunch program. I got exposed to this kind of side of the world that was very much not a lot of people actually get to see that, especially people who come from like similar demographics as mine, which was like lower middle class, like I'm partially white. And so it's like there was a little bit of privilege in my life. I got to see into like these two very different worlds. Like I really got to be surrounded by people who are in disadvantaged communities like at a very young age. I just always remember like sitting on stage because like my mom sang and played the piano and I just like sat on top of one of the speakers that like projected the sound. And I used to just like hit a tambourine. I remember I was probably like 4 or 5 and I used to just like love sitting there and being like, yeah, I'm playing the tambourine. I would say music was introduced to me in that context. And then you have my dad, who's this like Chinese Filipino dude who was like a DJ back in the 70s. My dad was the one who like always played the music in the car and he would always be playing like disco and like Motown jams and like Michael Jackson and like soul music. And it was just like really cool to have that foundation. Like, I started playing piano and teaching myself guitar. I got put in lessons at a young age like many others have. And I obviously didn't have the attention span to like want to be there. So I stopped. And then when I was a bit older, I wanted to play again because I was like, oh, cool. Like I can play Coldplay on the piano. So like, let's, this is worth pursuing. I took piano lessons again for a few years and then stopped because I got disinterested. That kind of pattern repeated until I was about in high school, actually, when like I was in Victoria. Up to that point, I'd already kind of been going to music camp as a kid and I learned like percussion. Me and my friends like would all start bands and me and my brothers would like jam in my garage. We always had guitars around the house and we had this piano, which I still have actually in my house. I don't know how it made it this far. We've moved so many times. Fast forward to high school, I had been introduced to like Kanye West and like anything from Sufjan Stevens to Coldplay to like maybe there was some Feist on there. I don't know, Arcade Fire. So I had a really like unique blend of like hip hop and indie music. I kind of like really painted the way or paved the way for like what I would end up doing in high school. I really got interested in beat making. So I started using Ableton Live and then like a family friend of ours, shout out to Chris Michael. He was actually teaching at this audio school. Actually, grade 10 was the year I went to the same school as you in Victoria, actually.
Right.
And I won, or I didn't win, but I came in 3rd place and got scholarship money to the same school that he actually taught at, which was called Nimbus. Nimbus is what I ended up going to because this scholarship money was just like, it was like the first validation of like, hey, like you're talented, like you could actually do this as a career. And I was like, what? From that point on, like grade 10 to like grade 12, I just spent every day like locked in my room watching YouTube videos, like trying to figure out how Deadmau5 made like the white noise sweep risers and just like, I was just so addicted to like learning. And at some point I realized that it was grade 12 already and I had ended up in Richmond, which is where I currently live still. I'm going to brush past Nimbus a little bit just because I feel like I could get too much in depth there. But basically I graduated, went to Nimbus. Past Nimbus, I kind of like got like a rude awakening to what the industry was like. I mean, not as rude as I would have had I not gone to Nimbus. Like there was a bit of softening because I got to speak to my teachers who were like seasoned industry vets and like they had all these cool stories of like working with artists. Like my teacher Roger, shout out to Roger Swan. He I was gonna shout everyone out in my life. Shout out mom and dad too, just because I missed that. I don't know if you know Chaos, like Canadian rapper Chaos, like every day is Saturday.
Oh, okay,
yeah. Roger was responsible for like most of his hits. Like he was like kind of a producer / engineer in a lot of those projects. I remember just look at photos of like Drake and like all these big artists and bands in the studio, and I'd just see them kind of like laughing and like having a good time with like the guys in the studio, and I'd be like, that's as close to the source as you get. And so I went into Nimbus being like, all right, like I got to get to the source. And I realized that actually like that isn't necessarily how it works. And then I think like Roger and I were like waiting at like Fatburger for like a hot dog or something because there was like fabric or whatever. So we were waiting, and I remember just being like in like a very reflective kind of contemplative, like, where am I at right now? Like, why am I here? Like, what am I doing? Like, is this what I want? And I remember talking to him and being like, I don't want to work in a studio because like I see what it's like, and it's like, it sucks. You spend all this time getting good at something and just to like start at the bottom, and then like there's really never a guarantee that you'll ever get to where you want to get. And it's like just a lot of hard work. And I remember him being like, fuck that. And I was like, what? He's like, fuck that. And I'm like, oh, okay. And he's like, you don't need to do that. And I'm like, oh, what? And he's like, you just like, you want to be a producer? I'm like, yeah, I want to be a producer. He's like, be a producer. I was like, and he's like, just book studio time, like work with artists, be the producer, do what you got to do to get in that position. And then eventually people will start recognizing you as a producer. And I was like, damn. And like that little tidbit of wisdom was like really impactful, but like not in a way that would have been obvious at the time, but just because down the road, like whenever it was like, all right, like, so like, who am I working with? Like, oh, okay, this person wants me to produce for them. Like, all right, well, like, what does that mean now? Like, what role am I playing? And so figuring all that out, like, I think having that wisdom was really important. We're not in this like old world anymore. Like, you can have a laptop and a microphone and an interface and just make hit records. Like, you can do that. Like Brockhampton did that. Like all of these crazy artists who are like popping off and like surpassing in fame, like all of the artists who like we grew up on. We grew up on had to do what they did for like 20 plus years before they even got like a record deal. We're living in a completely different age now. You don't necessarily need a big old fancy recording studio where Drake took a photo to like get your stuff done. And you can just use your iPhone. Like, so yeah, basically fast forward, I started doing the producer thing, freelance producer. You know, I was working with hip hop artists. I was starting to get more involved in what I would call like the local industry in Vancouver. There's not much to be said about the production. I guess I just built more connections, and to the point where I realized that I actually wanted to capitalize on a skill that I had previously developed, which kind of went unmentioned, which was the fact that I had been really gifted with the skill of writing for most of my life. Being introduced to more songwriters and like learning about what that world was like, I was like, these are my people. I was like, I found my people. I decided recently, like I would say in the last few months, to kind of like cut off my production work. That was what was paying my bills for the last little bit. And I just decided to kind of commit to pursuing like a long-term career as a songwriter, you know, and taking my producer skills along with me. And yeah, so that's pretty much where I'm at currently. I have a Wayfie project, which is basically a singer-songwriter thing that I started as, and then I got like a big following somehow on SoundCloud and YouTube and whatnot. And once I kind of got that realization that like I was actually like achieving what I was told was possible, I was like, let's keep doing this. So I kind of kept working on my Wayfie stuff. I released a song in December called Composure, and that was like, you know, I took a long time to kind of work on that. And like I learned a big lesson, which is you don't release music in December because everyone's listening to Christmas music. So yeah, I learned that lesson the hard way. And I guess that was really like a wake up call to like, why am I trying to like market my emotions? Like obviously, like, you know, emotions are always going to be a central part of what is required for a good song to kind of connect with people. But at the end of the day, it's like realizing like that I wasn't actually this kind of sad boy facade that I was projecting online. And like, you've spoken to me and you've met me, and like, even just like over talking, like I'm a very smiley, and like, I just don't think my brand up to that point was reflecting it. And I was seeing my fan base kind of like slip away from me. I was like, oh man, like I don't think people are even like engaged anymore. I started having to make these decisions and come to these realizations that like, you know, if I want to keep capitalizing on this brand that is Wayfie, I have to kind of like diversify what I'm doing. And like, I have to show people who I am, you know, like the real me. And so I think that's what I'm in the process of doing right now. And it's basically putting songwriting at the forefront of what I focus on. And so that like at some point in the future, you know, I'm able to kind of like freely write with whoever I want. And I think what that requires is really just being confident in your skills first and foremost. I'm working on a lot of original content for my Wayfie project, which is kind of going to be in this new rebrand, which I'm excited for everyone to see. And yeah, like that's pretty much what I'm doing currently with Wayfie, at least. I've been pretty much ranting this whole time, and I totally said I wasn't going to rant, but I did. And so, but
no worries. Cause, and I like what you're speaking to as far as like, there's so much options and accessibility for like the bedroom artist to pop off and like surpass kind of what the previous archetype of what a successful person with a music career looks like. I feel like it's this double-edged thing where, because like now we have the internet and all these options and you can connect with people internationally, it feels like there's a lot more competition, but I feel like that also like discourages way more people too. The risk is there, like you might fail, but if you don't try, you'll never know.
You're 100% right. I always find myself like falling back and like coming full circle to a lot of these kind of more cheesy sentiments that they pump you up with in elementary school to kind of like achieve your goals and whatnot. And like, it's so true. Like if you don't try, you will never know. There's kind of like a threshold, like a barrier almost where people, they try and then they don't necessarily reach their goals. And so it's like they go through this kind of disappointment process. And then it's just like you get back to this place where you're like ready to try again. And then it's like greener pastures kind of. And then the cycle just repeats itself. You know, like I think it's so true. Is like if you want to like achieve different results, you know, it requires a different approach. And I think when you try that different approach, you're going to give yourself a better shot at getting what you want. If you don't try at all, it's like you'll never know. So I'm just trying, you know. So I think we're both trying here. But
I feel like we've maybe sort of danced around this a little bit. But who are you making your music for? What are you chasing?
Honestly, I'm just chasing balance. Like I'm chasing the ability to retire, the idea of retirement. I look at my life and I don't imagine myself sitting in like a lodge in like some like bougie area, retirement city. Like I just see myself where I am in my house. Like I see myself living and like, you know, with my partner, like with my girlfriend or with my, you know, whatever, and like working and building long lasting relationships and constantly seeking truth through the medium of writing and just getting to help tell people's stories differently and tell my own story in the process and live life, feel good, be around family. And that's pretty much it.
That's super beautiful. No, I like that a lot. I appreciate that. I do want to thank you for taking time every day. But in closing, I was wondering, what advice could you give to someone who's intimidated by that big step forward in their art? Because it feels like, at least in your story, it's these intentional movements in new directions until like you hit something that works. Like, how do you take that first step though?
What I'll say that there's no step you can take that is worse than not taking a step, you know? You just got to do it. Like, it's the weirdest kind of answer, but it's the honest answer. It's like that first step is going to seem scary and it's going to get scarier the longer you wait. Whether you're a visual artist, whether you're anybody who's trying to do something, like even if it feels like you're doing it for yourself to prove to yourself that you can do it. Like if you're an artist, if you want to draw, it's like just draw a picture in a notebook and then that's your first step. And then from there, it's like, well, what do we got to work with? Well, I can draw. All right, well, and then what? It's like, well, maybe I want to get paid to draw. It's like, okay, well, then how do you get paid? Well, people got to see it. What do I have at my disposal? I got Instagram. Well, I got Facebook. I got YouTube. I got all these amazing connections to the world. Take a small step because it's better than no step. Take a big step. Take a medium step. I don't know, wherever you're comfortable. If you're someone who's too comfortable and you need to kind of be challenged, surround yourself with people who are going to challenge you, you know? The people in your life who are going to confirm your fears are the people who are going to confirm that you're staying in one spot. And if you want to grow and you want to move forward, you're going to have to put people in your life who are going to like motivate you and people who are going to believe in you and pour in positivity into what you do. And that's the biggest thing, you know?
This really interesting, not even concept, but just like mentality I've come to terms with is like, it costs me nothing to hype my friends up. Like,
oh, 100%. 100%. I love that. I love that.
And not to treat it as like a throwaway, like it means nothing. No, like put intention into it, but it's not, doesn't take a lot of effort.
No, yeah. It's amazing.
Yeah, I like that a lot. Yeah, I get that's pretty much it. Thank you for, taking time and speaking with me. Oh, do you have a soft estimated date on this rebrand, on any upcoming sort of projects you're working on?
Brad, I wish I could give you a date. I honestly wish I could tell you.
Yeah.
I have no idea, man. I'm
right
now I'm in the process of just creating content, trying to make connections. I'm gonna do like a photo shoot soon. So
sick.
I mean, it's like it's a soft rollout for sure, but new music can definitely be expected before the year is over. That's all I'll say.
Beauty.
Yeah.
Love to hear it. Well, again, thank you so much for, taking time out of your day and speaking with me. It's been very lovely.
Thank you so much, Brad, for having me here.
Absolutely. And yeah, let's try to link up, sometime. Let's not try and push it to 10 years. That'd be kind of weird.
No way, man. Let's make it happen.
Sick.
Yeah, dude.
Well, you have a lovely rest of the day, sir.
You too, man.
All right. I'll talk to you later.
All right. Cheers. Take care.
Ciao. Special thanks to Gabriel, Hannah, and Nathan for making this episode possible. Intro music provided by Wayfie, that's Wayfie, and accompanying tracks by Loboil, that's Loboil, who can both be found on all major streaming platforms. I'll see you soon, and thanks for tuning in to Blond Radio.